All right, let's dive in today. We're going to be exploring seeing the creator in all things.
Okay.
And all this is going to stem from a collection of Law of One texts and research that you sent over.
Right.
I gotta say, even just glancing through it, some of this stuff is seriously mind-bending.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
I can't wait to unpack it all with you, especially since the Law of One, it's not exactly like a light beach read,
Right.
you know?
No, definitely not.
Even the phrase, seeing the creator in all things, it's just so evocative,
It is.
you know?
Mhm.
It makes you think about how we perceive reality and the divine and all of it.
Absolutely.
And for those who might not be as familiar with the Law of One,
Mhm.
it presents this idea that we are all part of a unified consciousness.
Mhm.
Like we're all interconnected in ways that we can't even possibly grasp yet.
Right.
And meditation is really highlighted in a lot of this material as a key way to actually experience this,
Mhm.
to break down those barriers that we perceive between ourselves and everything else. But where I'm really getting hooked is how the material talks about applying this to daily life.
Yeah.
Like, how do we go from these big universal concepts
Right.
to like the nitty-gritty choices that we make every day?
Exactly.
That's where your expertise comes in.
Well, what's so fascinating is how the Law of One doesn't just present these ideas as like some abstract philosophy. It
Mhm.
emphasizes that it's a reality to be lived, a way of being.
Okay.
So when we talk about seeing the creator in all things, it's not just about acknowledging some distant deity out there.
I see.
It's about a fundamental shift in our perception,
Okay.
recognizing the divine spark within ourselves and everything around us.
Okay. So it's not about looking up to some external creator, but looking inward and outward simultaneously.
Exactly. And
Okay.
and the sources that you provided actually offer very specific steps to help us cultivate this perception.
Okay.
One text emphasizes the need to consistently choose unity over separation,
Okay.
love over fear,
Yeah.
and wisdom over what they call distortion. And these choices, it suggests, are key to moving beyond just thinking about oneness to actually experiencing it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If we're constantly operating from a place of fear or judgment or separation,
Right.
it's going to be pretty tough to see that underlying unity.
Exactly. And that's where the practice of meditation comes in, which several of the texts highlight.
Right.
It's presented as a direct path to experiencing this unity, a way to quiet the mind and tune into that deeper connection.
Even for someone who meditates regularly,
Mm.
the way they describe it in these texts is really compelling.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about relaxation or stress reduction, but it's about fundamentally altering how we perceive reality.
Yeah.
But the question that pops into my mind is how do we bridge the gap between that meditative state and our everyday lives?
Right.
How do we take those insights and actually make them actionable?
That's where things get really interesting. One of the texts uses this phrase, thought form experience.
Okay.
It suggests that our subconscious expectations can actually shape the reality we experience.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying we're essentially creating our own reality with our thoughts?
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, I've heard that idea before,
Right.
but the way the Law of One explains it seems different.
It does go deeper. They specifically link it to these contact experiences
Okay.
where individuals encounter beings from other realms.
Okay.
The text suggests that the expectations someone has about the contact, even subconsciously, can actually influence what they experience.
That's kind of freaky,
It is a little bit.
but also kind of amazing.
Yeah,
So if someone expects a benevolent encounter, they're more likely to have one.
that's what the Law of One suggests,
Yeah,
yes.
and the opposite is true too.
Exactly. It really underscores the power of our own minds.
Wow.
And the idea that we are actively participating in co-creating our reality.
Okay.
It even suggests that the subconscious will of an individual can influence their physical state,
Oh.
particularly when preparing for such experiences.
Okay, give me an example because this is blowing my mind a little.
Okay. One text describes someone undergoing a psychic attack who experienced dizziness and cramping beforehand,
Wow.
and they link it to their subconscious will reserving energy for the contact.
Okay.
It's like their body was preparing on a deep level, even though their conscious mind might not have fully grasped what was about to happen.
So it's not just about our thoughts, but our whole being, mental, physical, and even those subconscious levels we're not always aware of,
Right.
all working together to shape our reality.
Exactly.
That's pretty profound.
It is. And it brings us back to the importance of those choices we were talking about earlier,
Okay.
like choosing love over fear It's not just about feeling good in the moment. It's about actively shaping the reality we experience, both internally and externally.
So even seemingly mundane choices can have a ripple effect on our perception of the Creator in all things.
Exactly. And that brings us to another fascinating aspect of the law of one material. You sent the focus on the Great Pyramid.
Ah, yes, I was wondering when we'd get to that. The pyramids are shrouded in so much mystery and speculation.
Yeah.
What does the Law of One have to say about them?
It describes the Great Pyramid as a resonating chamber, meticulously designed to distribute light and energy
Okay.
in a way that facilitates healing and spiritual growth.
So it's not just a tomb or a monument, but a kind of ancient technology for spiritual development.
That's the idea. The text even describes specific details about the pyramid's geometry
Oh.
and the way its internal chambers, like the king's chamber,
Sure.
were used to amplify and direct these subtle energies.
Wow.
It mentions the use of crystals in conjunction with the pyramid's energies to enhance healing.
It's almost like an ancient blueprint that we've largely forgotten.
Yeah.
But if the pyramid was designed for healing, why isn't it being used that way now?
Well, the text suggests that humanity's lack of what it calls a crystallized nature is preventing us from utilizing the pyramid's full potential.
Okay, I need a bit more on that. What exactly is a crystallized nature?
It's described as a purity of intention, a sincere desire for healing and spiritual growth. It suggests that without this inner alignment, the powerful energies of the pyramid could be misused or even harmful.
So it's not enough to have the technology, you also need the inner development to match it.
Precisely. It's a reminder that true transformation starts within.
Hmm.
It's about aligning our inner world with the divine principles we seek to manifest in the outer world.
Now, I'm already sensing we're just scratching the surface here.
Yeah.
But we're about to run out of time for this segment.
Okay.
Before we go, is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners with as they ponder this concept of seeing the Creator in all things?
The Law of One reminds us that even though we experience ourselves as separate individuals, we are at our core part of a unified consciousness. And this isn't just some esoteric idea.
Right.
It has practical implications for how we live our lives,
Yeah,
the choices we make, and how we interact with the world around us.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And we'll dive into those implications in more detail in the next segment.
That's good.
Welcome back. I don't know about you, but my mind is still buzzing from that last segment.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
The idea that even our subconscious expectations can shape our reality,
It's pretty wild.
and that the Great Pyramid might be some kind of ancient spiritual technology. It's a lot to process.
It is, and we're just getting started.
Okay.
The Law of One goes even deeper, exploring the very nature of our universe and our place within it.
Okay, I'm ready to dive back in.
Okay.
What else did you uncover in these texts that you think will blow our minds?
One concept that really stood out to me is the idea of the logos.
Okay.
It's described as the cosmic architect, the creative principle behind the entire universe.
So like a God figure, a big cosmic being who created everything.
Well, it's more nuanced than that. The Law of One suggests there are actually many logos, each responsible for creating its own universe or galaxy.
Okay.
Think of it as a cosmic fractal pattern, with creation unfolding on multiple levels, each with its own logos, guiding the process.
Multiple universes, multiple logo. My head is spinning a little.
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
So where do we fit into all of this?
That's where it gets really interesting. The Law of One suggests that our sun is actually a sub-logos responsible for creating our solar system and all the life within it.
Wait, you're saying our sun is a conscious being? Like
Yeah.
it has awareness and intention?
That's what the Law of One proposes. It describes the sun as a being of immense power and intelligence guiding the evolution of all life within its domain. And get this, it suggests that we humans are sub-logoi,
Okay.
essentially mini creators within this grand cosmic scheme.
Hold on, I need to catch up.
Yeah.
We're all tiny sparks of the divine capable of creating our own realities. It's like those Russian nesting dolls, creators within creators within creators.
Exactly. And it emphasizes the profound interconnectedness of all things. But it also places a huge responsibility on us. If we're co-creators with the infinite creator, then our choices, actions, and even our thoughts have a tangible impact on the world around us.
It's both humbling and empowering at the same time.
It is.
We have this incredible power to shape our reality, but we also need to be mindful of how we're wielding that power.
Absolutely. The Law of One delves deeper into the mechanics of co-creation, exploring how our beliefs and intentions manifest in our lives. It touches on the concept of thought forms, which we talked about earlier, suggesting that our thoughts aren't just fleeting things, they have a real energetic substance.
I'm starting to see how it all ties together. So if I'm constantly dwelling on negative thoughts, I'm actually creating a kind of energetic field that attracts more negativity.
That's the idea. And conversely, if we focus on love, gratitude, and compassion, those energies will manifest our experience. The law of one emphasizes aligning our thoughts and actions with our deepest values and aspirations. When we live authentically, acting from a place of love and service, our creative power is amplified.
It's like we're tapping into a universal power source when we live in accordance with our true nature. This has given me a whole new perspective on seeing the Creator in all things. It's not just about perceiving the divine out there. It's about recognizing and expressing the divine within ourselves.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another mind-bending concept from the law of one, the nature of time. It suggests that time isn't linear as we perceive it in our everyday lives.
Okay, now we're going down the rabbit hole. Explain this nonlinear time thing to me.
From a higher perspective, the law of one says that all time is simultaneous.
Okay.
The past, present, and future exist concurrently. It challenges our usual understanding of time flowing in one direction.
So instead of past lives being something we've left behind, they're actually happening alongside our present life.
That's the idea.
And what about the future? Is it already set in stone?
That's where it gets really interesting. The law of one suggests that choices we make in this life can influence our past lives and vice versa.
Wait, are you saying we can change the past? Isn't that messing with the space-time continuum?
From our limited third density perspective, it might seem that way. But the law of one suggests that from a higher perspective, it's about shifting our consciousness and aligning with a different possibility within the infinite web of creation.
It's mind-boggling, but also liberating. It means we're not bound by a rigid, predetermined fate. We have the power to change not just our future, but our past as well.
Exactly. And this relates to the law of one's perspective on reincarnation. It's not just a random cycle, but a purposeful journey of soul evolution. Our choices, along with the guidance of our higher selves, shape this journey.
So it's not about being punished for past mistakes or trying to earn rewards in the afterlife. It's about learning, growing, and ultimately merging back with the Creator.
Exactly. And the law of one emphasizes we're not alone in this journey. We have our higher selves guiding us, plus countless beings of light, both within and beyond our physical realm, dedicated to helping us evolve.
That's comforting, but it makes me think about another concept we saw in the material psychic attacks.
Mm.
The text mentioned that people working towards spiritual growth, especially those serving others, can become targets for negative entities.
This is where the idea of polarity, which is central to the law of one, comes into play. Just as there are beings of light who support our evolution, there are also beings who operate from service to self, seeking to maintain separation and control.
So it's like a cosmic battle between light and darkness, and we're caught in the middle.
In a way, yes. But we have free will to choose which path we align with. We can feed the forces of fear and separation, or we can choose love and unity.
And how do we protect ourselves from these negative influences?
The law of one suggests practices like meditation, prayer, and working with light strengthen our connection to our higher selves and the forces of light, making us less susceptible.
It's like building up our spiritual immune system. That makes a lot of sense. But how can we tell if we're being influenced by negative entities?
The law of one says to pay attention to our intuition, our inner guidance. We should avoid anything that feels draining or manipulative. Trusting our gut feelings is key.
And I remember reading about the importance of forgiveness. Does that play a role here too?
Absolutely. Forgiveness, both of ourselves and others, releases negative energy and restores harmony. Holding on to anger or resentment feeds those negative forces.
Forgiveness isn't easy, but if it helps us break free from the cycle of negativity, it's worth the effort. Are there other tools or practices the law of one mentions that can help us on this path?
One interesting aspect is the emphasis on ritual and ceremony. The law of one suggests they can be powerful ways to align with higher energies and amplify our intentions.
What kind of rituals are we talking about? Are we supposed to be building pyramids in our backyards?
It's not quite that literal. The law of one mentions the use of sacred geometry, sound vibrations, even objects like crystals to create a resonant field that supports spiritual growth.
So it's about using these tools consciously and intentionally to create a kind of sacred space both within and around us?
Precisely. It's about making our spiritual practice more tangible and creating an environment that supports our connection with the divine.
We've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the Logos co-creation, the nature of time and reincarnation, psychic attack, and even the power of rituals. It's a lot to take in, but I'm starting to see how all these concepts connect to this idea of seeing the Creator in all things.
It's about recognizing that the divine isn't separate from us. It's within us, around us, and woven into the very fabric of creation. The law of one gives us tools and insights to experience this unity more fully.
And it's not just about intellectual understanding. It's about living it, expressing it in our choices and actions. I'm curious to hear more about how we can practically apply these teachings to our everyday lives.
That's exactly what we'll explore in the next segment. We'll delve into the law of one's guidance on how to bring these profound concepts down to earth and integrate them into our daily experience.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Law of One. Man, I feel like we've journeyed through multiple dimensions of reality already,
Yeah, we have.
exploring everything from the cosmic architect of the universe
Right?
to like the power of our own thoughts.
It's been pretty wild.
It has. And, through it all, this one theme keeps echoing for me, the interconnectedness of everything.
Yeah.
This idea that we're all part of this unified consciousness. And not just as like a nice philosophical idea, but as a fundamental truth that can transform how we experience the world.
Absolutely. The law of one really emphasizes that this interconnectedness isn't just some abstract notion.
Right.
It has very tangible implications for how we live, the choices we make,
Yeah.
and the reality that we co-create.
That's what I'm most curious about now. We've laid all this groundwork, explored all these incredible concepts, but how do we actually start living this?
Right.
How do we move from theory to practice and truly see the creator in all things?
The law of one offers some really practical guidance on how to cultivate this perception.
Okay.
And it starts with a shift in perspective.
Okay.
Moving away from that ingrained illusion of separation
Yeah.
and cultivating a sense of unity with all that is.
So instead of seeing ourselves as like these isolated individuals battling against the world, we start to perceive the web of relationships that connects us all.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're a part of this larger whole, and our actions, no matter how small they seem,
Right.
ripple outwards and have an impact.
That makes me think about something you mentioned earlier about how even seemingly insignificant choices can influence our reality. So if we're making choices from a place of love and compassion,
Right.
we're actually contributing to like a more harmonious, unified reality.
That's exactly what the law of one suggests.
Wow.
As we cultivate this awareness and actively choose to see the creator in all things, our perception shifts, and the world begins to mirror that back to us.
It's like tuning our internal radio to a different frequency,
Yeah.
one that's aligned with love and harmony and unity. And by doing so, we start to perceive that divine spark in everything around us, even in the most unexpected places.
It's a beautiful vision, isn't it?
It is.
To live in a world where we see the interconnectedness, the sacredness of all things. And the law of one suggests this isn't just some utopian ideal. It's the natural direction of evolution, the path towards which humanity is heading.
It's a message of hope, especially in times that often feel so divided and chaotic.
Right?
It reminds us that there's this deeper order at play,
Yeah.
a guiding force leading us towards greater unity and love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it empowers us to take an active role in this evolution.
Right.
We can become beacons of light in a world that often feels shrouded in darkness, making choices that align with this higher vision.
But let's be real, it's not always easy to see the creator in all things.
Right.
We live in a world where suffering and injustice and conflict
Yeah,
are often more visible than love and harmony.
definitely.
So how do we reconcile that with this idea of seeing the divine everywhere?
That's a really valid point. The law of one acknowledges the reality of those challenges,
Okay.
but it suggests that even these difficult experiences can be catalysts for growth.
So it's not about denying the existence of suffering or pretending everything is perfect,
Right.
but it's about recognizing the potential for transformation within every experience, even the painful ones.
Exactly. It's about choosing to see that divine spark even amidst the darkness, trusting that there's a higher purpose unfolding, even when we can't fully grasp it in the moment.
It sounds like such a radical shift in perspective,
It is.
requiring a deep faith in the goodness of creation,
Yeah,
even when things seem to contradict that.
it does. And the law of one emphasizes that this isn't a passive faith. It calls us to actively participate in this transformation,
Okay.
to become agents of love and healing in the world.
So it's not enough to simply believe in unity.
Yeah.
We have to embody it. We have to live it, express it in our thoughts, words, and actions. It's about making conscious choices that reflect our commitment to love, compassion, and service to others.
Yes, it's about recognizing that every interaction, every encounter is an opportunity to express the divine within us.
It's like we're all artists co-creating this grand masterpiece of reality together. And with each act of love and kindness and forgiveness, we're adding brushstrokes of light and beauty to the canvas.
Beautifully put. And as we align ourselves more and more with the law of one, those brushstrokes become bolder, brighter, and our individual light contributes to the collective illumination of consciousness.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, but as we wrap up, I'm left with this one kind of lingering question.
Okay.
Throughout our conversation, I keep coming back to this idea that the illusion of separation is so deeply ingrained in our experience.
Mm-hmm.
What if some aspects of our world, our systems, our very way of life, are actually designed to reinforce this illusion of separation?
That's a powerful question.
Yeah,
And one that deserves depth consideration.
right.
It invites us to examine the structures that we often take for granted and ask ourselves if they truly serve our highest good, our evolution towards unity.
It challenges us to look beyond the surface and question whether the systems that we operate within actually support our natural inclination towards love and connection and seeing the Creator in all things.
Absolutely.
Well, this deep dive has been a profound journey of exploration.
It has.
And as we conclude, I invite you, dear listeners, to carry these questions with you.
Yes.
What aspects of your perceived reality might be subtly reinforcing the illusion of separation?
Mm.
And how can recognizing those influences help you to see the Creator more clearly in all things? Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.